Have you ever designed a CD or at least wondered what all went into it? Well, then stick around because I'm going to be walking you through the process of laying out a CD. So every month, Reaper Metal Productions has a new release. And this month, I'm working on a band called GRAVE VIOLATOR, a cool band from Finland, and we've got a CD coming out for it, so I figured, because of, if you've been following this channel long enough, you definitely kind of dive into some of the more behind-the-scenes kind of stuff, and people seem pretty interested in that, so this is definitely a new idea that I hope you like, so if you do like it, definitely leave a comment, but let's jump into it. So basically, you obviously need a program, and what program would that be? Well, as they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, so that program for me remains Photoshop. And there's definitely, other ones like InDesign and all that probably are way more ideal at this point. But like I said, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, as they say, especially for my case when those tricks eat up time of getting something done. And I like to just work with what I know definitely works and can just get me there and get it out of my hair. This is what you're left with. And that's basically where the start process comes. You staring at a screen, going front page, back page. And unless you got a great idea and all elaborated and planned in your head, which I never do, you're pretty much left with this. And I like to start then, when I don't have an entirely a clear vision, to start putting in what I do have. And what you generally always have is a cover. And that cover, even though it's done, is usually going to need a lot of work. So let's start by showing you some of that work. Here we have GRAVE VIOLATOR's cover. Really cool. And as you can see, it kind of just falls into the line right here. And if you have any experience printing or anything, these are all guidelines, and I'll get more into that in a second. It's fitting in here, and as you could tell, it's not really placed in there all ideally. And that's kind of where the first step comes in. So right here is obviously your fold mark, and so I'm going to line that edge to that. And then from there, figure out how to size the rest of this image. Because up here, this is where it's going to be cut off. Yeah, that image is cut off, and that's done for the reasons of paper. When it's going through a press, it's coming through, it's hitting one end, and it's being smushed over to another end, so it creates a T like that, or an angle, rather, that is all just meshed, and that section of paper, that's going to be truly, nothing's going to be able to bounce around, but it stretches, and all these different things can happen with paper, and so you allow yourself some lead room. It's called bleed. And it gets cut off, that way it looks seamless. And so that's what we have there, and that's what you got to account for. Then you're kind of left with coming up with creative ways to make it yourself. And that's the first step. And why I have it like this. Because I wanted to have this sized up to know where exactly am I even going to need it. And I don't want to stretch this image or do anything to, make up for anything. And so, boom, that's kind of how that's how it is. So I don't want to stretch it and manipulate it in any way. So I want to work around this. And there's a few ways I could do that. I could go up here. It depends on the situation. This one I did something different. But normally I would just kind of go to an area. I would select a box around it. And then I would just duplicate that. Like this. Copy it, and boom. You probably didn't notice it created another layer there. You kind of can. I don't know why Photoshop doesn't like to just put it directly in the exact spot you took it from. So I'm going to line it up real quick. But then, so there it is. It's right there. It's a little slither. You can't tell. And then I'll just take that and I'll stretch it up to my bleed mark. It's going to be cut off. So, like I said, you don't want to manipulate the picture too much. And if I stretch the whole thing, that would be overall manipulating, these guys in cloaks there and stuff like that. So I just want to do the areas that are only going to matter. And as you can see, this line right here, it looks big on the screen, but it's very, very minute. I want to say like 1/8 of an inch or something. So it's not something you're even going to notice, and you probably didn't even notice it here on the screen. Let me turn that off. But there you go. Now I have up to the edge, and I've made that picture bigger, and then I would just go on and start doing that for every corner, but I've already saved myself the task and there it is. It filled it all in. As you can kind of tell, it's not even all that perfect. And that doesn't matter. It's going to be getting cut off anyway. You just want to have it where the color scheme and the imagery is pretty much flowing so that if it does have a really bad bounce, as it would be with the paper, when it's just all on a stack like that, it's going to be cut. And so when things may have been not properly jogged or whatever, that way you don't have a useless copy. First step's done, and usually in that process, start to get some ideas. I don't have the representation to show you, but initially the band had their logo up here, and that was great. But I kind of thought, well, there's some cool detail over here, and I kind of want to keep all that, because if you put a logo right there, it's going to cover it all up. So where somewhere that would be kind of cooler and, a little more not what you see every day. And so I came up with the idea to put it right there. Thought it covers things, of course, but it kind of, that's a little mountain or a cliff top. So I felt it flowed with it nicely. And then, so we got a logo there. Needed to stand out generally. So kind of like to not really do anything if I don't have to. But in this case, you need to start off with some color, trying to go layer by layer so you can see what I did. So add a color to it. That kind of, brings out a little bit, but not enough. So maybe put a little bit of a glow around it. That'll kind of help. And so there it is. That just kind of made it look noisier, but maybe it'll have a purpose that would come to light later. So we'll do what's called a stroke effect. That'll put more detailed lines around the edges. Depends where you set and what to do. I've had it just around the edges. Wow. Now that kind of really brings it out way more. And as you can see, by turning on or off this glow, that just helps now bring those little trickles, if you will, or roots, blood, whatever you want to call it, predator blood, I guess it would be. But it really helps bring that out as opposed to before where it just looked like garbage. So it really has a purpose now. And then still not sold on it. So then I kind of wanted to bring it so it has a little bit of a lumpiness to it, a bevel, an emboss. So there it is. That kind of brings it out. And there's our logo. That stands out a little bit. I like it. And then now the album title, Back to the Cult, and placing that. So put it right there. Now, I've obviously since have done this, but one of the things that you could be tediously looking and searching for is a font. And that's where it can be creative. Most of the time, I'll just type in the title of the album and then just start scrolling through. And here we have Cloistered Black, which basically looks like Old English, which would be a very likely choice for a metal album, but I'm so tired of Old English for the most part that I try to stray away from it. So I figured for Back to the Cult, Finnish band, kind of something that would be a little bit more Slavic in a way. I don't know. So that's what this font that Kremlin Orthodox Church is kind of what I settled on, because it does have that look of sorts, slightly Viking or medieval, a blend of the two was what I was going for. Maybe I'm totally off, but I think you get the point. And that really helps them, because now that there's a font, that really saves time everywhere else, because now there's a back page to make. Because this is going to be folded in half. So the first thing, which was something I had from the band, is this. And so that looks to me like a great frame or something that I could fit, details in there, maybe some tracks or, information. Lyrics maybe, but we're not going to put lyrics right there. Tracks maybe, but back cover, I don't know. It seems kind of silly because you'd definitely be putting it on the tray card. So information seems to be the best spot for a back cover. And before I get there, though, wanted to do a little bit of a touch-up to this frame. Obviously, I need to put some bleed where here it is. See this section there? Needs to be right up to par with this one. So, got a frame build there. I already done that. For this, however, show you a little bit of another little technique. And so, I'm going to do a different method. And that's called a clone tool. And basically what you do in Photoshop with that is, as you can see my cursor, and I press Alt here on Windows, you pick an area then to select, and then now you'll have a paintbrush, and then it'll exactly copy that. And that's a great way to get some extra artistic creativity that looks exactly the way you wanted it to look without being the artist or being a good artist, as I am definitely not. Maybe a decent graphic artist, not a good artist. And as you can see there, it kind of already starts to paint it in there when you put it over there. I'll make it nice and big. So I selected this area. I'll make a more obvious one where it's like kind of white. And then wherever I go then, now that that's the selected area, it's going to start doing that exact thing there. So right in that middle, as I chose, wouldn't be a good spot, but I'm just making an obvious example. And as you see, there you go. It picked up some of this. But so there you go. That's precisely the point. And when it has kind of a soft edge on it, that could really blend it in nicely and give you that bleed nobody's ever going to know or notice or appreciate, but it's going to take you at least 15, 20 minutes to do. And just get it done nicely. And so it's already been done. And as you can see there, boom, done. And then another layer I added was to kind of sharpen it up a bit. As you can kind of tell, really just kind of brings out some of that detail before, after. So that's nice. Love that. And so let's fill in some information. And so we have it. Boom. There it is. And now as you can see, I didn't exactly use the same exact font as Back to the Cult here. But that Back to the Cult definitely helped me realize the direction I was going for, what I liked and what would be if I'm going to switch up fonts, because normally I try to either then stick with the same font, but that could be boring, especially if you got a ton of panels, and who knows, sometimes it gets in the way, and you want to switch it up a little bit. But you don't want to, I don't think, at least, that it looks good when you get out of the realm of theme. So that's where this Norse font came into play, and I didn't have it on my computer. I found it, and went to just a font site. Usually that's always what I'll do. Either I'll play through what I've already got, and like I showed you before, I'll just type all of my stuff, get it how I want, and then just scroll through what I got. This is what the Cloister Black, that more old English font would have looked like, or the Back to the Cult font. Like, as you can see, like, that just doesn't really work, especially when it's all capitalized like that, which that's something else. When you're considering these things, that could be helpful. Like, I've already got it all on bold, so like that probably wouldn't work from font to font. So like, you take that bold off. Now it's a little bit more legible, but like, I don't know what's going on. It kind of looks like, some Russian characters, like at least ones that I don't recognize. And it just doesn't work. And I want that to be legible. So that's why I kind of switched it up. And so the Norse, which is, thinking Finland and all that stuff, kind of plays in that theme. And I think it complements the Back to the Cult theme. That is a complete cover booklet. And so, obviously, such can be said then for everything else with a CD that I'm not going to get into and bore you potentially. But if you liked it and you want to see more of this, definitely leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this kind of video. Like I said, it's the first of its kind. But yeah, when you're left with that, then you go to your next screen and here's a CD template, the CD itself. And it's like, what do I do? Well, as you can see, I started incorporating everything I already did have. I already had a title. I already have my own logo. I got a catalog number. Then you throw that in there. Of course, I've already had it placed and knew where to put it, and that's corresponding to that. But as you can see, it's a blank slate, and you literally got to make something from nothing. And then so on with behind your CD tray, right here is kind of telling you, hey, where that little CD spine is when the CD's closed. Like if you ever see somebody's got, like a font or something that says something that you could see when you're looking at the CD in a case, you could see it through the tray. Well, that's what that is right there, and that's how you obviously know it would line up. This is kind of showing you where a CD would cover it. That way, if you want to put something where it's like a big reveal, as I didn't so much do with this, but have done before with releases. So there it is. I won't spoil any of the surprises because GRAVE VIOLATOR is coming out this month. I definitely encourage you to check them out. There's a track posted on the Reaper Metal Productions Bandcamp page. Just go to reapermetalproductions.com, check it out. But this won't be the first time you're hearing from GRAVE VIOLATOR, so I hope through this journey you enjoy what you hear and see. And like I said, definitely let me know if you like what you see with this kind of tutorial-esque video. Love to do more or whatever, and you know, there's so many different aspects to a release, and I have no problem with sharing any of those. And you know, especially if you find it cool. Like I said, I do this day in, day out for the most part, so I don't always see the value in it. It just seems like Monday, boring work for me. If you like this video, like I said, definitely leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, and all that great stuff. So I know, definitely, because it's the first of its kind. But there'll be plenty more, like Hellcast, Heavy Metal Relics, new releases, all coming up and happening. So if you've been following this channel, you definitely know what I'm talking about, and definitely know it's been a while for some of that stuff. So it'll be coming here soon. But this is one of the things that's been happening on the channel, and trying to introduce new things. So, you know, like I said, let me know. But check out GRAVE VIOLATOR, and I'll talk to you soon.